It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
So every time I turn on the TV, I got to tell you, folks, just horrible. And it's getting worse every day what's going on in Ukraine. And the Pope weighed in, said it's a senseless massacre where every day slaughters and atrocities are being repeated. He said there's no justification for this. He says, I beg all the players in the international community to truly commit themselves to stopping this repugnant war. And I read that and I'm going, is the Pope calling for the international community to gang up on Putin? I mean, is this a call to arms by the Pope? Wow. I mean, look, if anyone's gonna pull things together, maybe that's where it goes. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on what's going on over in Ukraine and that region of the world. I've asked our good friend Greg Palast to come talk with us. Greg is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, investigative reporter, also best-selling New York Times author. Numerous books. You get those at gregpalast.com. Too many for me to rattle off, but my favorite, Best Democracy Money Can Buy. Greg Palast, thanks for taking time for us.
Glad to be with you again, Rick.
So, what do you think? Is this a call to everybody ganging up and putting Putin in his place? You think from the Pope?
Well, go Frankie, I hope, but we don't know. The question is, is the Pope calling? Is he calling for a jihad here? Is this a holy war? I don't know, but I'll tell you this. It's grim. And just so you know, I have a reporter. The Palace Investigative Fund has a reporter, Nick Parapolitis, in Kharkiv, which is, the main city after Mariupol that's under bombardment. I haven't heard from Nick in 2 days. I'm hoping it's just because, Putin has his finger on the internet off button in these areas. But 400, I do know that he reported, and the Wall Street Journal confirmed that 400 apartment buildings have been blown apart. So it's pretty grim. He's in the basement of one building and getting out messages when he can.
It's just horrible. And you go, what sense does this make? I mean, on what level does this make any sense? And I've had a bunch of people go, well, he's doing this because he wants security, he wants a buffer zone. I mean, every justification, he doesn't want NATO expansion. This is all Joe Biden's fault because Joe Biden's green. All these
NATO
excuses.
Expansion. Okay, let's get to NATO. First of all, let's put that mythological beast aside. Yeah, my waste expansion's a bad idea, but it doesn't threaten anyone. Neither did. Let's remember, Ukraine was not allowed into NATO, and there was no way that they were going to be allowed into NATO. NATO's charter actually says you can't join if you're in conflict with a bordering state. Well, excuse me. That's why let's remember, Ukraine applied for NATO membership 14 years ago. And suddenly 3 weeks ago, Putin wakes up and says, oh my God, Ukraine's applied for NATO membership. Yeah. It's a threat to Russia. So has NATO fired a bullet at Russia ever? I mean, it's, I agree that adding in Poland and other Eastern European nations was what I would call diplomatic malfeasance. But let's get rid of that as a casus belli. And let's remember something else. For a nation which is supposedly threatening Russia, the Ukraine gave Russia its warheads, actually gave up all of its nuclear weapons and didn't just smash them. They literally handed them over to Russia under an agreement in which the United States, Mr. Biden, and Russia and Britain and France agreed to the security of Ukraine in return for giving up those missiles. I'll tell you this, after Kim Jong-un watches what Biden didn't do to protect Ukraine and watch what happened to Gaddafi after he gave us his nukes, there is zero chance. In fact, I'd have to say, if I were an advisor in North Korea, I'd say, whatever you do, don't give up your damn nukes. Yeah. Never. That's over. That story's over with. And with Biden saying we have no obligation to Ukraine, well, what does that agreement that we signed mean, sir? Biden's done a very good job of saying we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that. Who plays poker that way? Whatever happens, even if I get 4 aces, I will not use them in this poker game.
No, but here in his defense, though,
I'd love. Can I please play chess with you, Mr. Biden? And please tell me what your next moves that you promise not to castle. You promise not to use your bishop. Okay.
Yeah, but in
military parlance, in military parlance, what Biden's move is called. He's called a schmuck. So, I'm gonna defend Biden a little bit here because I'm not in favor over the
of
top Biden. Okay,
I don't. Yeah, a little bit here, because there are some things I think he's done well. I think he's communicated well. I think he's done a good job.
Well, who cares about what he communicates?
Okay.
Let's talk to the Pope, and the two of them could talk about world peace. Hold hands. Kumbaya.
Do you think
thanks, Joe.
So do you think we should have? Do you think we should have put in gone in and enforced a no-fly zone? Do you think we should have done that?
Those are, you know what? There were lots of things between saying we're not going to do crap for you in Ukraine versus we're going to have no-fly zones, et cetera. First of all, a no-fly zone has never created a conflict with Russia. We've had them. We have a no-fly zone right now in Syria, whether you like it or not. It's called the disengagement, deconfliction zone. It is a no-fly zone over parts of Syria, and we've always had that. We had no-fly zones over Iraq, and we told Russia, don't get near it. Here's one where our planes are flying. Don't get near it. We're moving people in. We're moving equipment in, and that's it. And Russia has never and will never touch it. Period. Right now, we should be absolutely saying, since Biden's ruled out no-fly zone, you just say we are going to have, we're going to move, just move Patriot missiles right into Lviv and say, look, the big Western city, you don't get near it. That's all. Don't do it. We're moving in our equipment, and if you want to fight the Ukrainians, they're going to be equipped to the teeth. Now, I would say the only reason, we're all applauding that the tank column, that the vicious column heading south towards Kiev has been stalled for 3 weeks. The Russians have literally lost thousands of troops, not that Putin cares.
Yeah.
We could have done what the only reason that tank column is stopped is because the British sent in Saab anti-tank missiles. They weigh 15 pounds. That's it. A 7-year-old can carry the damn thing and wipe out a Russian tank. And they sent in 4,700 of those. That's what stopped that tank column. The U.S. tried to prevent Britain from doing that, saying it was a violation of our NATO agreements. So Biden actually got in the way. If the only reason that tank column is stopped is because basically Boris Johnson told Biden to go stick it, and he provided weaponry. And now, after the fact, we're providing weapons. It's ridiculous. I would just talk to a major who is in charge of, who's one of the big U.S. military advisors on future warfare. And as he says, you can't just hand people Stinger missiles. You can't give them drones and expect them to, some school teachers decided to volunteer this week and give them equipment and expect them to be able to use it. He says, we should have been doing that before. Obama should have not allowed Syria to cross the red line, and we shouldn't have surrendered in Afghanistan. I'm sorry, these are hard truths for the left, but we've got to accept them. We have to decide: are we a pacifist movement or are we a progressive movement? You can't be both. You can't protect people if you're going to say we're an isolationist movement. It's none of our business, because the minute we say that, then they come after you. And, this is the left has got to make a decision here. I'm going to be tough on the left on this one because a lot of it, we're split on this. We have to recognize it. We have Code Pink out there blaming the United States. We provoked Putin. The hell you did. Yeah, no. The one thing we do have to apologize to the Ukrainian people is the United States put Putin in office. And that's one of the things, a history I've been writing about. Terrific. I don't want to take too much credit for this. A lot of this work was done by Ben Judah, who wrote a great biography of Putin called Fragile Empire. And, we literally jacked with the elections to get Yeltsin and his running mate, Vlad Putin, elected. That election was stolen in the late 90s. We engineered that because we were afraid that the front runner in that race, and he wasn't exactly a nice guy, was Gennady Zyuganov, who was the head of the kind of rebranded Communist Party of Russia. And we weren't going to let the Communist Party take back Russia.